All right, strap in, everybody, because today we are going deep on Germany.
Deep.
Yeah, deep on Germany's like crazy industrial boom in the decades before World War I.
Oh, yeah.
It's we've got excerpts from this historical workbook thing, and it is chock full of details about their industries, like all the moves the government was making, how society was changing, how, obviously the whole international tension thing you get when a country suddenly becomes, a big deal.
It's a wild period because you see Germany go from like this collection of separate states to a global economic powerhouse almost like overnight.
It really is bonkers, like zero to hero for just a few decades.
Yeah.
So like, where did this economic miracle even come from? Germany wasn't exactly known for industry before all this.
Right. Well, imagine it's the late 19th century. Coal is king.
Okay.
Coal is like the oil of today, right? It's running everything.
Makes sense.
And Germany, they basically hit the jackpot.
Oh. Mountains of coal and iron ore.
Wow.
Especially in the Ruhr Valley.
Okay, so they struck black gold.
Basically.
Black coal, I guess.
Yeah.
But resources alone don't build an industrial empire, do they?
Nah, you're totally right.
Right?
Think about it. You've got all this coal, all this iron, but it's useless if you can't move it.
Makes sense.
And that's where Germany's location and their insane infrastructure come in.
Okay.
Smack dab in the middle of Europe.
Right.
They become this natural trading hub. And get this. By 1914, they had over 63,000 kilometers of railways.
Oh, wow.
That's like laying track from New York to L.A.
Okay. Yeah.
And back again.
Wow.
And then some.
That's a serious commitment to getting goods moving.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got the fuel, we've got the transportation network. What industries are they building with all of this?
Steel.
Steel, okay.
Huge.
Yeah.
By 1914, they were outproducing Britain. What?
Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Britain.
Yeah.
The OG industrial powerhouse.
Right.
The empire built on steel.
Yeah.
Suddenly they're looking up at Germany.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must have ruffled some feathers across the English Channel. Being overtaken in steel production.
Yeah.
It's practically a national insult back then, right?
It was a huge deal. It was a shift in the global balance of power.
Yeah.
And remember, steel isn't just about bridges and buildings. That's about weapons.
Yeah.
It's about military might.
Okay, so steel is king. What other industries were they dominating?
Chemicals.
Chemicals!
Another area where Germany was truly cutting edge.
Okay.
Companies like BASF, Bayer, Hochist.
Those are big names.
Oh, yeah. These names were synonymous with innovation.
Uh-huh.
They were developing dyes, fertilizers.
Okay.
And let's not forget
Oh.
the ingredients for some pretty powerful explosives.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these scientific advancements could have such like a dual nature, breakthroughs in agriculture.
Right.
But also materials for warfare happening side by side.
Exactly. And then there's electricity.
Oh, yeah, electricity.
Germany embraced it with a fervor unlike any other nation at the time.
Wow.
Siemens, AEG, giants in electrical engineering.
Right.
They wired up the country with electric trams, telegraphs.
Wow, they were living in the future.
Totally.
While everyone else was still fumbling around with gas lamps.
Yeah, it was incredible.
So they weren't just producing raw materials.
Nope.
They were at the forefront of these new technologies.
Yeah.
Turning them into complex products. Like they were serious contenders on the world stage at this point.
Oh, yeah. And we can't talk about this economic transformation without talking about Bismarck.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The Iron Chancellor himself?
This is a big deal.
Otto von Bismarck, the architect of modern Germany. What role did he play in all this industrial magic?
Bismarck was incredibly strategic.
Okay.
He understood that for Germany to thrive, it needed a strong industrial base. So he set about creating policies to protect and nurture German businesses.
Okay, so what kind of policies are we talking about? Like, give us the behind-the-scenes look.
He started with protective tariffs.
Okay.
Basically taxing imported goods
Yeah.
to make German-made products more appealing to buyers.
Smart.
Yeah, it was like giving their own industries a head start in the race.
It's like leveling the playing field.
Exactly.
So your own team has a fighting chance.
Exactly. And he didn't stop there.
What else did he do?
He invested heavily in infrastructure.
Like what?
particularly railways.
Okay.
This wasn't just about moving coal and steel.
Yeah.
This was about connecting people, ideas, and markets across the entire country.
Makes sense.
And he understood the importance of a skilled workforce.
Right.
He poured money into education, especially technical schools and universities.
So he was laying the groundwork for a knowledge-based economy.
Totally.
Even back then.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
It sounds like he was playing 3D chess while everyone else was still figuring out checkers.
He was thinking long-term, for sure.
Yeah.
But he also recognized the potential problems, the social problems that come with rapid industrialization.
Right, yeah, for sure.
He saw the growing working class, saw the potential for unrest.
Because all that shiny new industry doesn't mean much.
Yep.
If the workers are miserable and ready to revolt.
Exactly.
In that sense.
So he did something pretty radical for the time.
Oh, what's that?
He introduced social welfare programs.
Wow.
Health insurance, old age pensions.
Things we take for granted today.
Exactly. Yeah, things we take for granted today.
So he was trying to cushion the blow of industrialization.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone benefited.
Yeah.
At least a little.
He's a master strategist.
Really was.
He recognized that a content workforce
is
a productive workforce.
For sure.
But even Bismarck's social programs couldn't erase the inequalities that were emerging.
So even with these efforts,
right,
there were still cracks in the foundation of this economic miracle.
Absolutely.
Wow.
You had incredible wealth being generated, but it wasn't being distributed evenly.
Right.
Some people were living in luxury, while others were crammed into overcrowded tenements, barely scraping by.
That's a recipe for tension for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So you have this booming economy,
Right.
but also the seeds of social unrest being sown.
Absolutely.
So what happens next?
Well, this rapid growth and the social changes it brought had a ripple effect.
Okay.
It wasn't just about Germany anymore.
Right.
It was about their place in the world. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, I can already sense the drama brewing.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's almost like Germany's economic success was like a double-edged sword.
Oh, yeah. How so?
It made them powerful, but it also made them a target.
Right. It's like that old saying, the taller the tree, the harder the wind blows.
Exactly.
So who are they butting heads with?
Well, Britain was the big one.
Okay, yeah.
Germany surpassing them in steel production?
Uh-huh.
That was a huge psychological blow.
Yeah, I bet.
Britain had built their whole empire on their industrial dominance.
Right, right.
Suddenly, this upstart nation is challenging their position on the world stage.
Yeah, it's got to be pretty unnerving.
Oh, yeah.
When the country that was basically the world's factory for a century is suddenly looking up at you in the steel rankings.
It was a wake-up call for sure.
For sure.
And it wasn't just about steel.
Oh, what else?
Kaiser Wilhelm II?
Okay.
Germany's leader at the time?
Yeah.
He was obsessed with building a navy to rival Britain's legendary Royal Navy.
Oh, okay.
He saw sea power as the key to becoming a true global power.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like a classic arms race.
Totally.
Everybody's trying to build bigger and better battleships to, outdo the other guy.
Exactly.
Classic.
And this had huge economic implications.
How so?
Building a modern navy in those days, it was incredibly expensive. Massive amounts of steel, cutting-edge technology, thousands of skilled workers.
Wow.
It was a huge drain on resources.
So Germany's pouring money into this naval race, trying to keep up with the Joneses, or rather the Brits, but they've also got social unrest at home and tensions with other countries. Yeah. It sounds like they're playing with fire on multiple fronts here.
It was a risky strategy, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And then there's France.
Oh, yeah. France?
The memory of the Franco-Prussian War was still very fresh, and Germany's growing power was making them nervous.
Right, because that war ended with Germany taking Alsace-Lorraine from France.
Exactly.
Which, definitely didn't make them best buds.
No.
So you've got this historical baggage, plus Germany suddenly an industrial giant right next door.
Yeah.
Not exactly a recipe for, a relaxing vacation.
Not at all. And to make matters worse,
oh no,
Germany decided to get involved in Morocco, a region where France had colonial interests.
Oh.
This led to a series of diplomatic crises.
Oh, wow.
That further strained relations.
Oh, Mike's.
and pushed France closer to Britain.
So Germany's trying to flex their muscles on the world stage.
Yeah.
But they're alienating potential allies in the process. Not exactly a winning strategy.
Yeah.
But what about colonies?
Yeah.
Wasn't that a big part of the competition?
Oh, absolutely.
Between European powers at the time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Germany was late to the colonial game.
Okay.
But they were determined to catch up.
Yeah.
You wanted access to raw materials.
Makes sense.
New markets for their goods.
Right.
And, of course, the prestige that came with having a global empire.
Right, of course.
The problem was...
What that?
Everyone else was after the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a game of musical chairs with fewer chairs than players.
Right.
Somebody's going to be left standing when the music stops.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this scramble for colonies created friction not just with Britain and France, but with other European powers as well.
Wow. So,
yeah, it was a global power struggle.
So we've got this tangled web of rivalry, competition, and like paranoia brewing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But let's step back for a moment and look at the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
We've talked about the social unrest brewing at home, but were there other downsides to this rapid industrialization?
Well, yeah.
Like, what were the hidden costs of this economic miracle?
Well, for one thing, development wasn't evenly spread.
Okay.
Some regions, like the Ruhr Valley, were booming, while others were stuck in rural poverty.
Wow. That's a big difference.
Yeah, this created economic disparities that fueled resentment and social division.
It's like the benefits of this economic miracle weren't reaching everyone equally.
Exactly.
Some people were riding the wave while others were being left behind.
Exactly. And then there's the issue of overdependence on heavy industry.
Okay, yeah.
Germany had basically put all their eggs in one basket.
I see. So what happens?
What if demand for steel suddenly dropped?
Right.
What if there was a shortage of coal?
Yeah.
Their entire economy was vulnerable to these external shocks.
It's like betting everything on a single horse in a race.
Exactly.
High risk, high reward.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah.
And then there's the environmental cost.
Oh, right, of course.
Industrialization on this scale requires massive amounts of resources. And it produces a lot of pollution.
Right.
This was starting to have a real impact on the environment even back then.
It's like they were so focused on becoming an economic powerhouse that they didn't stop to consider the long-term consequences of their actions.
And those consequences would ultimately be felt, both within Germany and on the world stage.
Okay, so it sounds like Germany's industrial success story is a lot more complicated than it seems at first glance.
Absolutely.
They achieved incredible things.
He did.
But they also created a whole set of new problems for themselves.
Yeah.
And the world in the process.
Right.
This is some seriously thought-provoking stuff.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it raises some big questions.
Like what?
About the nature of progress itself.
Okay.
What does it really mean to be a successful nation?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Is it just about economic growth, or is there more to it than that?
That's a great point. Like, what good is all this power and wealth?
Right.
If it leads to conflict and instability.
Exactly.
It seems like there's a bigger lesson here.
Yeah.
About the importance of balance.
Absolutely.
Of considering the long-term consequences of our actions.
For sure.
And of striving for progress that benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Absolutely. Germany's story is a reminder that progress isn't always a straightforward path. Yeah. It's full of twists and turns, and it's up to us to navigate those challenges wisely.
Well said. And on that note,
I
think it's time for us to, like, surface from this deep dive and reflect on what we've learned.
Okay.
Let's wrap things up in our final segment. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time digging into this idea of Germany's rapid industrialization. And it's clear it wasn't all, sunshine and roses.
Not exactly.
They achieved crazy economic power, but created a whole bunch of problems along the way.
Yeah, it's a classic example of how progress can be a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah, totally.
Germany's story is like a reminder that we can't just focus on growth for growth's sake. You have to consider the social, the political, the environmental consequences of our actions.
Yeah, it's like building a high-performance engine, but not thinking about the brakes or the steering wheel.
Right.
You might have a lot of horsepower, but you're going to have a hard time controlling where you end up.
That's a great analogy.
Thanks.
I think it highlights a crucial point.
Oh, yeah. What that?
Sustainability isn't just about the environment.
Okay.
It's about creating systems that can thrive long term.
Right. Makes sense.
Germany, focusing on heavy industry, made them incredibly powerful in the short term.
Right.
But it also made them vulnerable to economic shifts, resource scarcity.
It makes you wonder if it was worth it.
Exactly.
And there are the social tensions we talked about.
You're right.
All that wealth wasn't being distributed fairly, which created resentment, instability. It's like they were building this impressive economic machine, but the foundation was cracking underneath it all.
Exactly. And that brings us to another important lesson from Germany's experience. Social equity.
Social equity. Okay.
You can't have true progress
right.
if the benefits aren't shared by everyone.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When a small segment of society hoards all the wealth, all the power, it creates this recipe for unrest and conflict.
So what does all this mean for us today? Well, I mean, we're not living in the late 19th century anymore, but are there parallels we can draw from Germany's story?
Absolutely.
Okay, like what?
We're facing our own set of challenges in the 21st century. Climate change, resource depletion, technological disruption, rising inequality.
All very real things.
Yeah, these are complex issues.
For sure.
That require us to think beyond short-term gains.
Okay.
And consider the long-term consequences of our choices.
It's like we're all driving down this road of progress.
Yeah.
But we need to make sure we're headed in the right direction.
Right.
And that we're not going to run out of gas or crash into a wall along the way.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Germany's story reminds us that progress isn't a linear path. It's full of detours, roadblocks.
For sure.
Unexpected consequences.
It wouldn't be fun if it were easy, right?
Right, and it's up to us to navigate these challenges with ambition, but also wisdom. So
if we want to create a future that's truly sustainable and equitable, we need to learn from the past.
Absolutely.
Think critically about the present.
Yes.
And make choices that benefit not just ourselves, but generations to come.
Well said. Yeah. Germany's rapid industrialization ultimately contributed to a global conflict that had devastating consequences.
Yeah.
Their story serves as a powerful reminder that we need to approach progress with caution, foresight, and a deep understanding of its potential pitfalls.
It's a sobering thought, but also a valuable one.
It is.
We can't just assume that progress will automatically lead to a better future.
Nope.
We have to be intentional about the kind of world we want to create.
And that intentionality starts with awareness.
Awareness.
By understanding the complexities of the past, we can make more informed decisions about the present and chart a course towards a future that's both prosperous and just.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
It's been great.
We've covered a lot of ground, but hopefully you've come away with a deeper understanding of Germany's industrial rise, the challenges they faced,
for sure,
and the lessons we can all learn from their experience.
It's been a fascinating discussion, and remember, even though this deep dive is ending, the journey of learning and exploring never truly stops.
I like that.
Thanks for joining us today.
And thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a topic that's sure to spark your curiosity and expand your understanding of the world.
See you next time.